Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am going to talk about rent plus GST plus outgoings. You must be seeing that a lot of advertisement that you see when you want to purchase a commercial property, and it mentioned that okay, this is the rent plus GST plus outgoings. What does it mean in two form? In this video, I am going to uncover that. So let's start. Alright, so let's understand residential property for a moment. In residential property, when you get like let's say $500 per week rent or $600 per week rent, then that's it, right? It means that every week the tenant is going to pay you $500, and that $500, then if you calculate that yearly, so 552, which is about $26,000 annually. And that's it. You are going to collect $26,000 rent, and all your expense you pay from 26,000. Now when it comes to commercial property, it is slightly different. In commercial property, you get the rent plus GST plus outgoings. If you see something like this, which basically means whatever rent it is mentioned, let's say annually $30,000. Now $30,000 annual rent plus GST, it means that the 10% of $30,000, which is $3,000 more, that you will collect from the tenant. Why? Because the commercial rent is always GST included, provided you as a landowner is registered for GST and you are authorized to collect the GST. Now why it is matters most? Because if you collect GST and commercial rent you can collect GST, then it basically means that if there is any expense that you have which has GST component as well, then the GST that you collect probably you can offset against those GST expense and the balance that you will pay. So the GST expense on your expenses does not have to come from the rent. It must come from the GST. This is not the case in a residential property though. In residential property, it comes from the rent, because residential rent you do not collect GST. So in commercial property, whenever you see that the rent plus GST plus outgoings, that basically means that you will be collecting whatever the rent plus 10%. So 110% of that rent you would collect from the tenant. So that's the first part, rent plus GST. What's the second part? Now if it says rent plus GST plus outgoings, which basically means that on top of that rent plus GST, you will also collect outgoings from the tenant. Now, what are those outgoings? For that, you have to read the lease. You need to understand what are the components that is mentioned under outgoings. Now, generally speaking, council rates, insurance, management, and land tax are part of outgoings. Now you have to read through the lease and need to see that which one of those were included in the outgoings, which one of those are excluded in the outgoings. If all these components are included, which means the tenant is going to pay for the whole year whatever the council rates, whatever the management fees, whatever the land tax and maintenance, all these components that they will pay, they will reimburse you. So you will send them the invoice and they are going to reimburse you, or if you are employed a property manager, the property manager is going to do it for you. So that is in a nutshell the meaning of rent, which is the true rent that you will collect, plus GST means 10% of the GST, plus outgoings means whatever mentioned in that outgoings that it is. It also kind of a marketing gimmicks and the marketing things that the agent put together. So it's quickly you as a potential buyer can see that okay, that means all these outgoings are paid by the tenant. So attract, so you would do the further due diligence. On the other side, if it is just mentioned rent plus GST, there is no outgoings, then for sure you know that it is a gross rent. So it's just like a few seconds check to know whether the outgoing should be paid by that tenant or outgoing should be paid by the landlord. So now that you know what does it mean by seeing rent plus GST plus outgoings, I hope you find this video is helpful, and if you are not sure about this, now you understand what it is, how to read this, go ahead and go to a different marketing materials and check this, how this rent plus GST plus outgoings and how much it will be. Do the calculations, you will learn a lot about it, and it will actually help you to buy your first or second or third commercial properties. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are, then please like this video, subscribe this channel so more people can see this video and get educated about commercial property. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.